I'm Winnie Weaver. I grew up in London and thoroughly enjoyed all the wonderful things that were available in that great city. And everything was fine until World War II was thrust upon us. And then it became extremely uncomfortable. And I think I probably got on about the last passenger ship to leave England. And we were zigzagging across the Atlantic, dodging U-boats. Then suddenly we found ourselves in the Mediterranean about a week later in what was then called Portuguese East Africa. Now it's Mozambique. Then, to cut a long story short, I married the chemical engineer, and we were married for about 5 years. Then we divorced, and I wanted to go back to London. It took me a year. I had to wait in Cape Town. And I had already become interested in nutrition, which was a very unusual thing in those days. And I bet it was the only book in the whole of Africa. It was called Cosmos, Man and Society, written by Edmund Seke and translated by L. Purcell Weaver. So I read the book and I was fascinated with it, and there was a long introduction by Purcell Weaver about his adventures, how he came to meet this professor. And I was extremely intrigued with all of it. And then I gave the book back and they said, "Oh, we found out that this professor has started us a commune in Mexico." And I thought, that sounds just the right place for me. And that's how I happened to come. It changed my whole life. As soon as I got back to England, I gave all my family a big hug, and I said, "I'm sorry, but I have to leave and go to Mexico." It was the best time I could have come. You know, he was really in top form, and he gave wonderful lectures. Everybody went, and then after a few days, it dawned on me that what a terrible waste. He's just wasting his sweetness on the desert air. That it should be recorded, what he's doing. Well, of course, there were no recorders in those days, but fortunately I could do shorthand. So after about 3 weeks, I suggested it. I said that if someone would give me a pencil and a notebook, I'll take down your lectures, and then if you find a typewriter for me, I'll type them back the next day. Well, Deborah, the professor, was delighted. I thought you might like to hear a bit about some of the interesting people that came to the ranch in the early days. Evans Wentz. Well, I knew the name. Evans Wentz was the first, he was a world scholar. He was the first person to translate the Tibetan Book of the Dead. And he lived in a little shack on the Mount Kuchuma on the American side, and he heard about this place, and so he said he would like to meet the professor. And I told him, yeah, I'm sure the professor would like to meet you, and so I went over and announced that Evans Wentz would like to talk with the professor. So that was kind of interesting. Well, a lot of changes took place while I was here. It was still just dirt everywhere, primitive, unbelievable. But, you know, it was such a wonderful place. It really was, and the professor was just a wonderful, wonderful speaker, doing all this comparative religions, which he would continue doing all the time I was here. Believed in sunbathing, air bathing, water bathing, and air breathing, and all of that stuff. But Deborah is really an amazing woman. She's just as much, or more so, a genius than he was, I think. I mean, he was a scholarly genius, but She was practical, being a woman. She did all the practical stuff, and he talked every evening, which was wonderful, for maybe 2, even 3 hours. He could go on, and he was a wealth of knowledge, and everybody loved that, going up there every evening to listen to him. So blessed in my wonderful family, and Deborah and Livia and Alex, which I include in my family. They are such a bunch of wonderful people, and I'm very, very blessed. I feel that I'm very blessed, and there's absolutely nothing I need. But we all need to find peace in ourselves, and that can only be done by retreating somewhat from the world and looking within and finding that source of peace, that it is there, it's in everyone.